Good morning. It's Erica of AriBo Arts, and we're here for Battmaking with AriBo Arts. It is super windy out here in northeast Iowa. We're under wind advisories for at least another hour. Gusts up to 50 miles an hour, and it did it all night. So I didn't get a lot of sleep because it's super loud. You may actually hear some, because of the skylight directly above me, you may hear some of that wind while we are doing this. You also may hear an occasional clank coming from outside because they're finishing up the bridge. It is supposed to be open by the end of day today. Very exciting. It's been a year and 3 months, and I would really like to not have to take these really long detours. So, yeah. So today we're going to be, I've actually started the bat we're going to work on. I made a bat last week called Aqua Life, and then I made an Aqua Life 2 because I used up the base for that, but I had all the add-ins. And I made that, and that sold this weekend at the event I was in Des Moines. So I'm making a second Aqua Life 2 because I still have some of this. This is from Brown Sheep Wool Company. This is some Cordale I got at a show. And then I've got bio nylon. I've got some locks. Got a little bit of bamboo. That's it. Yeah. So let me get you set up. Over Sebastian here. Oh, and you get, I'm going to see, I don't know if I can go backwards there. Got a box in the way. See if that helps. Yeah, there we go. That works. Okay. So, as you know, this is Sebastian. Sebastian is classic Carter from the UK. TPI, which is tines or teeth per inch, is 120. And I have several drum Carters. I teach classes, but I don't have a lot. So I teach small classes. This weekend, I got 2 more Carters. One was planned. Someone I knew had posted that they had this particular Carter. I tried to get the different brands. So I said, this is a classic Carter from the UK. She had and I already own 2 brothers, a fancy kitty, and a no-name Canadian one. If it has a maker or marker, I haven't found it yet. Put that way. Okay. Trying to remember which side I was putting this on. I don't think it matters. There we go. And so I'd arranged that I was going to, pick that up. And then let's see, I think I'm going to do green next. And then on Friday evening, I had to rent a car, because I had hit a deer about 2 weeks ago. In fact, I think it was 2 weeks ago today. Yeah. Oh, well, no, last night. It was a Wednesday night because I was leaving on Thursday morning for Wisconsin, which I never got to do. And I'm picking up the van after this demo. I'm very excited. Of course, I'm going to have to, white knuckle the steering wheel because of the wind. Anyway, so that was bamboo. This is bio nylon. It's a biodegradable nylon product. I've got multiple colors of it. I'm using 2 different colors in this bat. What's nice about the bio nylon is I particularly like to put it on over. So that color was called Daylight. This one's called Indigo. It's a little more, so the bamboo is slippery. This is a bit more grip to it, and so it's good for making the bamboo stay in place, which is mainly more of an issue for the final layer. But there's that. Not forgetting anything. Nope, just the locks. Okay. So I have these locks. These are Leicester long wool. And this bag pretty much has 2 colors. There's sort of this aqua seafoamy color And then there's sort of a blue, there's blues and stuff like that. So I'm using both colors. And so lesser long wool, so these are, long. So anyways, but let me get back to the story. So I transferred some of my stuff into my rental sedan. Since I normally drive a van, I normally have much more storage space. So I had to have a abbreviated booth. I used tables instead of my grid wall and all this other stuff. So you see, I've fluffed open the openings of the locks, tucked them under the liquor in a little bit so that they would grab. And then it helps sometimes if you press just a little bit. So you end up with sort of these streaks of color. So I got everything in. It was great. They had some band kids there who were trying to earn some tips for their trip to Hawaii. My sister was in band. She never got to go to Hawaii. But yeah, so that's what they were there. It was great. Young teenagers. I think they were high school kids. I can't tell these days. So this is more of a shorter cup, but it's got some decent length to it. So I'll add that there too. Okay. So we're just gonna keep making more layers. Anyway, so I get the stuff in, and I start setting up, and then I take a break at one point, and I go and there's 2 gyms, so I go walk around, see what other people have, and then I walk into the other gym, which had fewer vendors, but in the back corner was the Des Moines Fiber Guild. I think they're actually the Des Moines Weavers and Spinners Guild, but because that's what we call them in Iowa. And so they had items they had made, but they also used equipment from members or that had been donated or whatever. And they had another carder. And one of my goals in the class that I teach is to have all sorts of different brands so that in taking the class you can also try different carders, because carders are not cheap if you're buying new ones. And so it gives you a chance to try some of them, right? Unless I luck into it, I don't think I'll ever have a Maja Craft because those are incredibly expensive. The windows are creaking because of the wind. But I'm working on getting several different brands. And maybe I have 2 brothers, but they're 2 different models. So I could do that. So the one I had arranged already to buy was an Ashford. Because I don't have an Ashford at all. And and mainly I get the manuals. I will eventually probably get one electric. But the problem is the electrics, they tend to be, one, they're more expensive. 2, but they also tend to be bigger. And it's more of a storage issue for me. In fact, one of the things I'm working on this winter is a storage area in my storage area where I can safely store the carders that I'm not actively using for demos and making my bats. Oops. Well, I thought that was too much, but I guess it's not. Okay. That. Put some rocks in. So the one I got from my friend was an Ashford standard. I have to get some more clamps for it. But I wouldn't mind getting an Ashford, or what do they call it? Is it a wild card? Which is the wild card's adorable. It's one of the smaller ones. I already have one smaller. Sometimes they call the smaller 4-inch ones. So this is like an 8-inch. So the ones that are like half this size, they often call those roving carders. So that what you pull off looks like a piece of roving. And I do. So the brother I have is a standard brother, and then I've got the baby brother, which is their micro, their smallest one. We'll do it that way. There we go. So now we're not doing a lot of locks. We're just doing a little bit. And the baby brother, I've named him Squirt. He needs a lot of clamping because it's super lightweight. It feels a bit like a toy, actually. But when I do the teaching, I tend to use that one, for example, as sort of my carder to demonstrate a skill. And I will say that the Ashford wild card is it's very well made. I've played with them at festivals. Okay, let's see how we're doing here. We'll do that amount. I think I've got a couple more layers left there. You can't see that on screen. There. Tilted a little funny today. Let's put this one right here. So I got an Ashford Standard. So I now have a brother standard, and it's not like the deluxe. It's the basic standard brother. I've now got an Ashford Standard. I've got the baby brother. I have a fancy kitty kitten. Her name is Molly. The standard brother is named Cadfell, as in brother Cadfell. Got Sebastian. And then the no-name Canadian carder that I bought used off a fiber thing is named Tina, after the woman who sold it to me. I think the kitty is going to be named Molly. It's a medieval word for cat, particularly female cat. And so, anyways, I go into the other gym. I go to the guild's display, and there they have a Clemis and Clemis carder, which I have used other people's before. I think it's a good carder for processing, perhaps less for art bats. But we will see, because it came home with me. It's one of the pre-2014 ones, before they changed the drive band. So it actually doesn't have a drive band. I have to get the drive band. But I was assured by several people that they have amazing customer service, and even if you just buy a used one somewhere, they will help you and give you information. Got to clean the rust off the handle, which I gather is common with those older ones. So yeah, so I'm building up my stable of. Someone figured out what we're calling a group of looms yet. But a group of drum carders. So at some point I do want to get a Louette, though my guild has a Louette, so I can borrow that one. I'm going to sign it out and rent it, but I can borrow that if I need to. I haven't decided if I want to get a Duncan. Those are made out on I think in Oregon. Let's see how much of this I have left. Also seeing how much, by doing this I can sort of feel how thick it is. Anyway, so Duncan I think is known more for its motorized one, but they do have a manual. So maybe that one. And then there's a one that's made in the Netherlands. Woolmaker. They make a roving carter. It's called the Hero, and a larger one which is called a Giant. And the Giant, if I'm doing my metric conversion properly, so what you're seeing here is this as a standard U.S., New Zealand, UK drum, which is a 22-inch circumference. There are, however, some companies offer sort of a jumbo one, which isn't just, they distinguish between a wide, which is the width, but then also jumbo in terms of circumference, right? And so there's one that's like 30 to 33 inches circumference. Fancy Kitty has that on their Big Tom, and I think other companies have it. So the one offered by Woolmakers in the Netherlands is, I want this first. Is that thicker dimension. It's a really kind of minimalist design, where there's not much, there's a pretty small feed tray, and then a lot of this framing isn't there. It also comes with clamps. It's like I need to invest in more clamps for these. Got some second cuts that got caught in the liquor right there. I think I'm just going to take out now. So by the way, if you have any comments or questions, just pop them in there. As usual, I cannot see any comments today. And if you're watching this later on YouTube, still comment. I will get a notification. Not sure if this is going to get downloaded immediately afterwards, because somebody's coming to pick me up so I can get my van. It's very weird to not, and I live, like I can go to the post office without the van, but a grocery store is a much longer walk. And I was supposed to have finished cleaning out my garden, which I rent from the city. I've turned in my key because I turned the water off. And I've still got Brussels sprouts out there, which are probably, we finally our temperature has finally dropped, and so we are definitely, winter is coming. I think the high's going to be 32 today. But, it's super, super windy. But I was never able to, I would have had to, pack up all my gardening, my trowel and my gloves, to finish cleaning out my plot. And plus I have to take the tomato cages back. And I'm sorry, I could not walk through town, for half an hour with these giant tomato cages. So that's what one of the things I may be doing later today if the wind dies down, or tomorrow, is cleaning up some of my plot. And then of course we're supposed to get a storm on Friday, later in the day into Saturday. So my window of opportunity is not very big. And I don't want to leave the plot a mess because then they may not let me rent it again next year. Press that in. Okay, I've got let's see, I think I can probably get one more row in there. One more layer. Look at that nice, big, fat curl. These are from the Berry Hill Farm in, where are they? I'm not sure where they are. I think they're Indiana, maybe. got them at a festival. It was actually a Pagora show several years ago. The first year they did it, they had vendors. I'm not sure if they had vendors any of the other years. Actually, not sure, but it's still going on. I like that streak of color. Oh, that's a very bad placement. We'll see what happens to that when I put this off. Really howling out there. Okay, last layer. Just got this little bit left. I don't think that's all going to fit, so put that back over there. Actually, put this off camera. This is going off camera. So I'm making bats for Friday. My waffle sale. Sorry, it's off camera doing that. Waffle sale is on Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 Central. 1 Mountain, noon Pacific, and 11 Alaska. Now that I know people who live in Alaska, I'm more aware of Alaskan time zone. This is definitely the last layer. Bamboo. Now my Thanksgiving is going to be spent making bats. I did sign up to do a pick-up Thanksgiving meal from the local church. And then this weekend I have Friendsgiving in a different part of the state with some friends from grad school. However, none of us are wild about turkey. I mean, if you put it in front of me, I would eat it, but like I'm a dark meat person and not my favorite food. So we usually have, well, we used, for a number of years we did like duck or goose, which we all liked better. And then my supply of locally raised, I was usually the one who brought them. The farmers who did those stopped raising those animals. So we switched to pork for a little bit, but then my friend got married, and her spouse does not like pork at all. So we have beef. So my friend always provides this house we're going to. She goes usually to Fairway and buys the meat. And my other friend is in charge of the mashed potatoes, because potatoes are very important for her. She said culturally the potato is the most important vegetable. And she usually does most of the cooking. I'm sort of sous chef helping out. And then I'm in charge of vegetables, because I'm the person who actually likes vegetables that aren't potatoes. And so usually we have to have an agreement. Like, there's some people like Brussels sprouts, some people don't like Brussels sprouts. So I love Brussels sprouts. But I think what we've decided on this year is we're going to do kale of some kind. I'll probably do a sauté kale. Nice green, but I got some oranges. I'm thinking orange glazed carrots sound really good too. None of us like green bean casserole. And I guess the Brussels sprouts growing in my garden are all for me, because half the people coming don't like Brussels sprouts. I used to do another sort of, used to call it a waifs and orphans one. And I could bring Brussels sprouts to that because I was one of the youngest people and everybody there loved Brussels sprouts. And it's also, that was a case of where it was like a potluck of like 13 or so people. And so everybody didn't have to like everything because there was so much food. Let's get some glue on here. Now, occasionally with things like the long locks like this, like mohair, you do have to check to make sure there's no VM in the little kinks. I'm feeling like I want another blue one. Gonna make it a little fuzzy on the outside. Okay, let's see what this is doing. Just put it right there in the middle. There we go. Okay. That is done. Okay. So that is... I got a label for it. That's the one I already did. Okay. So let's take this off. I'm going to get the scale out too. And I gotta make more of these. Almost out. Okay, time to break the bat. Doffer stick, Doffer crease. This is going to be called Aqua Life 2. Now you may recall I pointed out earlier that we did have a lock that went across this. So when I come to that, I want to make sure I try and pull it out so it ends up on this side instead of back here. Oh, there we go. You can see it right there. So I'm not just pulling upward, I'm pulling a little forward as well. That allows some of these fibers to slide out from back here. There we go. And then tuck this back down into the Doffer crease. This particular brand of Carter, actually the Doffer crease is wood. It's where the carding cloth ends and begins. So you have to cover that up. Some companies use wood, and what I like about this, there's a groove in the middle, so it keeps the Doffer stick on track. Okay. Other companies use like a brass piece of metal there, other kinds of metal. So, okay, so we've tacked that in there. Now I can grab this. You do want to make sure you support the entire bat. Don't just grab from the edges, otherwise the center part will get stuck on here and it will pull out the guts of your bat. Okay, so it's getting a little stuck right there. So I got a knitting needle. I just go under. Obviously you want a knitting needle that fits between your teeth. It's easier if you've got a TPI of say 72 versus this is 120, so the teeth are closer together. That right there. Now, if I'd done a pure white bat before this, I would have wanted to clean the carding cloth. Otherwise, I would have had bits of white everywhere. A little bit of carding, but not much. Okay, let's see what this looks like. There we go. So that's Aqua Life 2. We're now going to weigh it. So if you want to guess how much this weighs, whoever gets closest get some trophy emojis. Woohoo! Tear that out. And then I'm just going to probably step off camera because you probably won't get to see it because of the way I've got the camera angled. I am just rolling it so it'll fit in my little Cool Whip tub. Okay. Last chance to guess the weight. Ooh. The last one I made of these was pretty big too. This is a pretty big one. Okay, last chance to guess. So this is Aqua Life 2. And it weighs 3.08 ounces. And it will, unless somebody snaps it up before then, it will be available at my sale on Friday. So I will be going, oh, I gotta go way over here. I'm gonna pop you up. There we go. I will take this to my place where I will lay it on its front. I will tease it out. So instead of the 8 inches, it's going to be more like 16 inches. And then I fold it like a letter, and then I roll it. And so I will do that at some point today, and then I will post the photos so you can see it. Okay? So thank you very much for tuning in. I will be downloading this video and putting it up on YouTube as well, completely unedited, because that's the way I roll. Okay? So thank you very much for tuning in, and I'll see you around on social media.